My kicker tonight is addressed to every young Kenyan above the age of 18, and particularly the Gen Z. Here is my message. Get out on Monday and get registered as voters. The IEBC has just announced that the continuous registration of voters will resume on Monday, the 29th of this month. This is a very important window for every Kenyan of age that is yet to put their names in the list of voters. To the Gen Z specifically, this is your opportunity to acquire the most powerful weapon in the whole democratic universe, a voter's card. Alongside the national identity and maybe the Kenyan passport, a voter's card constitutes the most consequential possession of any citizen. A voter's card is the one true equalizer. It has exactly the same value for each citizen, regardless their status in society. A voter's card carries the same weighty value in the hands of a poor man as it does on the laps of the wealthy. An 18-year-old and an 89-year-old are equals when it comes to the voter's card. The president and the peasant become peers when holding their respective voter's cards. So, to the Gen Z, especially they that so proudly carried Kenyan flags at the peaceful beginning of their protests on the 18th of June last year, here comes your moment. If you are 18 and above, and you are a Gen Z, don't let this moment pass. A voter's card is the most lethal peacetime weapon any civilian can possess in a democracy or even an aspiring democracy like Kenya. Let me tell you a little story. On election day in December 2002, I was on duty as a reporter covering the opening of polls in Nairobi's Eastlands. I was in Kayole at 5 a.m. when the polling stations were opening. And I remember the queue that stretched for more than a kilometer that early. The air was pregnant with expectation, and the mood in polling stations was almost festive. I believe the reason was Kenya was having its first ever mandatory transfer of power election. President Daniel Arap Moi, who had ruled Kenya for 24 years, was not eligible to run, so the election, whichever way it went, was the first ever change election. I remember interviewing a male voter that was shedding tears after casting his vote. I asked him how he felt that morning. Amid bursts of tears and emotion, he responded in Kiswahili, "Nimefuta mtu kazi," meaning I have fired somebody. The man was not in an emotional state to sustain a longer conversation, but I understood him. I knew exactly what he meant, and I could tell how he voted, and therefore who he fired. The overwhelmed man walked away, mumbling audibly now for everyone to hear, "Nimefuta mtu kazi." I will always remember that man as a perfect illustration of the power of the vote. That can be you in August 2027. All electoral positions, from the president to the governor, senator, member of parliament, member of county assembly, women rep, all of them will be up for grabs, up for appraisal. With a voter's card, you can hire and you can fire any of these leaders in any of the positions that will be on the ballot. The voter's card is power. The voter's card is political power. And voting is the only time the tables turn. Power switches to the voter that very moment. Whether it's the cost of living or corruption, health or education, jobs or housing, the voter's card allows you to have your say at the ballot box. So to every young Kenyan out there, go out in large numbers for that magical card. Something else I need to tell you about the 2002 election. It was the last credible election. And indeed, the only credible election Kenya has ever held. Debate for another day. And you know what made it credible? The overwhelming, unmistakable will, voice, and power of the voter. I remember the system-defying and rigging-busting atmosphere. And I remember it was powered by a very small card in the wallet, the voter's card. So beginning Monday, get out and get the IEBC to list you up as a voter. You are above 18, you are a Gen Z, this message is for you. That's my kicker.